Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have two hearings and a termination of tenancy where a woman is being evicted after a breakup from a rental property she shared with her ex for non-payment of rent. The woman insists that the landlord agreed to sell her the home despite the fact that there is no longer any actual house on the property to live in, as it recently burnt down and they need her out so they can clean things up. What does the judge think of her claims? Let's find out.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
My apologies. I thought you were Terry, T-E-R-R-I Richmond, who I've known for many years, and it wasn't her
that's
voice.
my
And
sister.
I don't know if it was some imposter. Anyway, you're Terry, T-E-R-R-Y Richmond.
Yeah,
And
Terry,
your tenant-
T-E-R-R. She is my sister-in-law.
All right, I got it straight now. My apologies. I owe an apology. Jessica Burgess is here. Mr. Androgynous is here. This is filed as a non-payment of rent case. And so, Ms. Burgess, I need to advise you of your rights. As a defendant, can you hear me? You need to unmute.
I can hear you, yes.
All right.
Okay, can you hear me
All
now?
right. Yes, I can. All right,
Okay,
Ms.
sorry.
You have the right to obtain counsel for representation in this matter. You're here as a tenant in a non-payment of rent case. If you cannot afford an attorney, a legal aid attorney may be available to help you. We gave you that information. You have the right to a trial by a jury or by the court. If the action is for non-payment of rent, which this is, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services in our county, that's Keystone Place, or other federal or state agency may be able to assist you with payment of some or all of the rent. Defendants do not need a judgment to receive assistance from Keystone. The summons and complaint from the court are sufficient. If the plaintiff is agreeable, the Citizens and Mediation Service, Inc. may be available as a possible source of case resolution. If the parties are interested, the court can facilitate that. If you do reach an agreement with the plaintiff and a consent judgment is entered by the court, you will waive the rights listed above but have the following additional rights. The judgment may not be enforced until 3 business days have passed. You may move to set aside this judgment within those 3 days if you misunderstood what you consented to or what you were waiving. Your motion to set aside the judgment would be set for a landlord-tenant hearing. However, if the judge does not find in your favor, the original judgment would stand. This is filed as a demand for non-payment of rent. Bettina Emery from Keystone Place is here on the feed, and Keystone is the agency that could be available to provide some emergency housing assistance. This is a property out on Boone Road, and the rent is quite substantially in arrears. Mr. Rognus, what's the current arrearage?
Your Honor, my understanding is that it's $4,350 that was through April 12th. The rent's due on the 15th of each month, so you now got April. And my supposition is that with the statutory adjournment, we'll probably be back into May. So I thought emailed over a breakdown to the court.
You did. You got through May 5,650, if we include April and May.
That's through May 15th.
All right, plus costs.
Correct.
Mr. or Miss Burgess, have you been in contact with Keystone?
Yes, I have.
Bettina, what can you tell us about this one?
I just heard from Mrs. Burgess today, and she was filling me in on the details of the non-payment of rent, and we may not be able to help her.
So you don't know yet?
I do not know yet.
In March, the Supreme Court changed the rules once again and requires that I set this for a second hearing 30 days out from today. So, Mr. Richmond, I don't have any discretion in that matter. Let's find a date that works for Andrew.
And Your Honor, can we get an escrow order in between now and then too?
No, it doesn't allow that. It simply says she's
Mr.
subject to a,
Middleton?
just a minute, just a minute.
Okay.
That would take us to June 14th at 1:15.
I've got something with Rob at 1:15, but I can bounce back between you two.
Well, how about if I set it, how about we set it at 2?
That'd be even better.
All right, Miss Burgess, is your husband there with you?
No, he is not.
Is he still there?
Yes, he is taking care of our children right now so that I can do the court.
What did you want to tell me?
Now there are other people that are on the property. It's actually my husband's baby mama. They have been harassing me. They have been putting me through hell, excuse my language. I have talked to lawyers. They have advised me that I need to ask my landlord if he could go ahead and evict them because he would have to evict them from the property to get their pop-up camper off the property.
So there's
They keep telling me that they're going to get it off the property. Just Friday, they said that they were going to get a truck and rent and get it off the property. And then the next day, they said that I have court on Monday, that they don't need to do anything, that it's their property. They are putting me through hell. I just need them off my property. I don't need to deal with them.
Mr. Richmond, what can you tell me about that you're renting a property?
Okay, Your Honor, this morning is Your Honor, this morning is the very first I've heard of this. Now, she doesn't have a place to live there. The house burnt. And it's been destroyed, and I need to clean it up. They're holding all of these funds in escrow because I can't clean it up.
So the Burgesses are living in this house?
No, we
I
are
don't
not.
think they should not be.
All right.
We are not living
I
in the
don't know
home.
where.
We have our belongings that are on the property. I mean, that was our home. I would like to try to purchase the property, but my co-signer that I have that's willing to co-sign for me will not co-sign for me until their pop-up campers off the property because they're just harassing me. And,
All right, well, he doesn't wish
Terry's
to
the
sell
only
you,
person
he
that can
doesn't
get
wish
them
to
off the
sell you the
property.
home. So I'm not gonna make her pay rent for a burned out house. When was the fire?
Exactly, but I just want her gone.
February
It's what I want, so I can
23rd.
clean up the property.
All right, stop for a minute.
Yeah.
When was the fire, Miss Burgess?
February 23rd.
Andy, this sounds like it should have been a termination of tenancy case.
Yeah, except that we would have had to have waited 3 weeks longer on the 30 days for the termination notice.
Well, I'm not gonna order her to pay rent on a burned out property she's not living in.
She was delinquent from the last payment. All of this payment was from July. Last time she was current, that was paid on 11/6, but she was only current back to July 31st. Her payment is $150 a week.
Up on rent. My
All
husband.
right, just a minute, just a minute,
Okay,
just a
sorry.
minute. Mr. Richmond, you haven't appeared here before, but that ain't how it works. You're by telephone, I can't see you, you can't just blurt
Exactly.
something out. We're not
I'm
at
sorry.
the kitchen, we're in a courtroom. You have an attorney also that's here to represent you. So, Miss Burgess, you've got your property in a burned out house and he wants you to get your stuff out of the house. They filed it, in my mind, incorrectly as a non-payment of rent case. I'm not gonna make you pay rent after the house burned up. You need to get your stuff out of there, is what it boils down to. Have you made any provision to move anything?
Yes, I have been moving stuff. And I've talked to Terry, and he has said that he would sell me the property. Now, I have a co-signer that would help me so that I could get the money to obtain the property from Terry, but my co-signer will not help me out until these people are off the property, because all they are doing are harassing me. And I've talked to lawyers and they have told me that Terry has to evict them from the property.
All right, that may be true. So, Mr. Richmond, how did these people come to put a camper up on this property you've leased to somebody else?
Like I say, Your Honor, this morning is the very first I heard of it. I got a text message from her telling me this. I've never heard of this before from her until today.
All right, Mr. Rognus?
I thought she said that it was her husband's baby mama living in the trailer or camper.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's really somebody associated with that. My suggestion would be she could just consent to entry of an order of possession and we can get those people out of there in 10 days. They're squatters. She doesn't have anything out to the place that she presumably couldn't move in the next 10 days, Ms. Burgess.
I couldn't. I want to buy the property.
Well, I understand.
All right, if this was filed as a termination of tenancy, Andy, I would only have to set it for 7 days. It was filed as a non-payment of rent case, so I have to set it out 30 days. But I'm not going to order she pay rent for a burned out property that somebody else is living on. Now, Ms. Burgess, how did these people come to put this camper on this property? Did your husband give her permission to put it there?
Well, they were only supposed to stay for like a week or two. And she came, my life's been a living hell. Okay, I have all the electric bills.
So your landlord did put them there with permission.
$5,000.
All right, well.
They are harassing me to this day, and
then,
they need to be gone.
Well, your landlord didn't let him move in there, you guys did. He doesn't even know about it. He needs to get him out of there, to be sure. But I don't know whether he wants to sell you this property or not. But it's filed as a demand for non-payment of rent. I have to set it for 30 days from today, which would be June
14th at 2 o'clock.
June 14th at 2 o'clock. I don't have any discretion in that matter. My suggestion is you get your stuff out of there. I'm not going to issue an escrow order, and I'm not going to make you pay rent for a property that's burned up. But I don't know whether he's going to sell you this property or not. If he does, well, then you can work out some deal between now and June 14th. But you let these people on there. He didn't. And so.
And they will not leave. They will not leave.
All right. Well, you didn't have the authority to bring them in there, and you don't have the authority to get them out. So you've created a giant headache for your landlord. At any rate, you have the right to, I understand, Bettina, why they won't be eligible for any assistance. You're not going to pay rent for a burned out house.
I'll pay to evict them. If my landlord evicts them, I will pay the cost for it.
That's between you and him. This matter is continued to June 14th at 2 p.m. And I'll take 2 Tylenol an hour before that hearing. All right, you're free to go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Middleton.
Okay. Well, that's a humdinger. I've got a.
That's probably Terry Richmond.
Yes, I'm on the line.
All right, stay right where you are for just a moment. All right, Ms. Burgess, we're sorry to wake you up from your afternoon nap there, but we have some business we got to transact here. Let me give Mr. Richmond a name. I gave him a hard time the first time we met because I thought it was not who he was, but it's the other Terry Richmond. All right. This is a damage hearing. It's entitled Terry Richmond versus Jessica Burgess and Joseph Burgeon and any others for a property out on Boone Road. We had a hearing earlier, and for a non-payment of rent, Keystone was going to be involved, and I'm not sure what happened. And then this matter was continued for non-payment of rent. I excused Bettina, and in fact, I still need her. I was thinking this was damages.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm not certain that Keystone's going to do anything. If you read the memorandum of law, this is the property
did.
that was damaged by fire.
Yes.
Yeah,
My recollection is
they
that,
won't help because there's no home, a livable home on the property.
yes. All right, but there's a bunch of unpaid rent. All right, Mr. Richmond, wherever you are, I can't see you, but I'll trust that you will raise your right hand. Ms. Burgess,
Yes.
will you raise your right hand, please? You both swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
At the time of filing, the plaintiff alleged that the rent was $650 per month. It was last paid partial in October. So through May, the allegation is there was $5,650 worth of unpaid rent. When did the house burn?
February 23rd, 2021.
Do you agree, Ms. Burgess, that the rent was $650 per month?
Yes.
May I step in, please?
Not
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
You're not here, you can't see me, and you've got a lawyer, so your lawyer speaks on your behalf, and you don't just shout from the seats. I'll give you a chance to speak at some point. So, Ms. Burgess, do you acknowledge that rent was last paid on October 15th?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right, I hear you. Andy,
Sorry.
so does that pay through October, or you're counting half of October?
Well, I'm running to the 15th, so I added June because our writ date's going to be the 24th. So you got to take that 5650 and add another 650. That makes it a flat 6,300.
Well, you're charging a rent for a burned out house she can't live in?
Well, like we indicated in that memorandum law, she's the one that's in constructive possession of that. We can't take possession of that property. She's left her property behind there, and her husband let his baby mama move in there. There's people on that property. We can't do anything with it.
There's absolutely nobody on that property.
At this point.
Same thing for you, Miss Burgess. I'll give you a chance to speak.
And the worst case scenario is Mr. Richmond's getting pressure from the township to do something about it. And the insurance company says, we're not going to give you proceeds to do the demo until you get people out of there. So they pretty much
All right.
put Mr. Richmond.
Let me ask this, Miss Burgess. Do you have any objection to them taking immediate possession?
My landlord has told me that he would sell me the property for $35,000. Now, the home was burnt down, yes, the home was actually burnt down from faulty wiring in the home. My landlord, I had over 3 electricians come out. They never finished the job. My landlord knew that. My electric went skyrocketed. Since back in August, it started skyrocketing. I have all of my electric bills right here with me,
All right,
stating
all right.
my electric bill is $100.
All
And
right,
then
you
my
didn't answer
house
my
burns
question.
down.
If it's a burned out house, I guess the number I use doesn't matter, because you're not gonna pay it anyway, and it'd be determined at a damage hearing. But it certainly appears, I'm just gonna go with standard order. Andy, you sent me a judgment.
Yes, I
So
did.
if we add another $650 for June,
That makes 63,000.
6,300
Oh, that could be
plus 199.20
Okay. And
is
199.20 cost.
64.99.20. All right, and Mr. Joseph Burgess is not here.
No.
I'm gonna do an order for possession within 10 days. I'm not gonna show as a default as to Joseph.
I'm sorry.
Joseph got defaulted. He's not here. But
What does that mean?
It means he's gonna get the same thing that you are.
Okay. Now, how would I be able to
Hold
keep the house for longer?
You can't unless you pay $6,300.
Okay, well, the last time that we just had gone to court, you told me that I didn't have to pay for a burnt down house.
You don't.
And
So
the
my
reason why I
suggestion-
hadn't paid rent.
I'm
you
not
guys didn't
ordering
even
that
add-
you, I'm not ordering that you pay this rent. This house
Okay.
burned down. He doesn't want to sell it to you. He wants to get whoever's there off of it. So I accepted Mr. Rognus's argument that it's a constructive possession and people are still there and they can't sell it or tear it down because somebody's in it.
There's
doesn't have to-
absolutely nobody that's been on the property.
All
Nobody
right.
has been on the property. I mean, I go there and I clean it up. I make it look good because I've been wanting to buy it from Terry. Terry
Well, you
Terry
can
knows
talk to
this.
him
He's
about,
aware of it.
if he's willing to sell it to you, more power to him. Otherwise, you got to pay the rent. But I would advise you to not pay the rent for a burned up house. And
Right.
the fact that you want to buy this burnt house is different than the fact that you have a lease. I'm not ordering that you pay this amount of money. I'm ordering that you pay this amount of money if you wish to stay there. And if you want to, but if he wants to sell it to you, I guess he can choose to do that. But you also have 10 days. So that gives you 10 days from today, which is June 24th.
Can I claim destructive eviction?
I guess you could. I went through your rights with you back a month ago. We're now a month later. You don't have an attorney here and you haven't filed any sort of pleadings. It's a burned out house. You're not living in there. You're not paying any rent. He wants his house back. He doesn't want to sell it to you. He just wants it back. So
Well, he keeps on telling me, he keeps on giving me the impression that he will sell it to me. But
well, if that's between you and him, if he wants to sell it to you, more power to you. But at this point, I would not recommend that you pay any rent toward this inhabitable burned up house. Sure, have been a lot of fires on Boone Road. I can think of at least 2 other cases where we were dealing with burned houses there, and there are not even very many houses on it. Anyway, Miss Burgess, this is, a rough situation. Where are you staying right now?
I'm currently living with my mother that's going through a really bad divorce right now. It's a really ugly divorce. I have 5 children. That's why I'm trying to acquire the property.
Well, it seems to me you could do better than buy a burned out house for $35,000. But if he agrees to sell it to you, that's fine. But at this point, no one's there. There is a lease. No one's paying anything. He argues that you still have constructive eviction. He can't demolish it because you and your ex are on the lease. And he's stuck. So he wants you to either, now the irony is if you pay the rent for this burned out piece of property, then your rights continue. I would not encourage you to do that, but if you did, then you would have occupancy for the rest of your lease period. The other thing is if you can discuss it with each other and he agrees to sell it to you, well, that's okay too. Now, Mr. Richmond, I cut you off when you wanted to tell me something. Now is your turn. What else you wish me to know?
Thank you. The rent was not monthly. They had converted to a weekly rent back, the date of the weekly conversion.
December 17th, or December 15th, 2017.
All right, well, same thing. You can't just blurt something out. So
sorry.
Just wait.
Thank you for that. She was current to 8/14 or 8/7 of 20. She was to the date of the fire 28 weeks, 4 days behind. From the 8/7 to 2/23, her total rent before the fire past due was $4,285.71.
All right, well, all right, let me stop.
And I did not.
Let me stop you
I'm
here.
sorry. Okay.
She says she's discussed buying the property from you. What's the status of that?
It isn't going to happen. She can't. She has no place that she can live there. No one will finance a property without a house. And I'm not putting more money into that property. I have to get the trailer that was there cleaned up to collect the rest of the money from the insurance because the township is holding it for a cleanup cost. $12,500.
All right.
And I can't do a thing with the property, and we're talking since the end of February now.
All right.
And I've been waiting for my taxes, and then I've been getting, phone calls from different people because they've been asking to buy the property too, family members. And they said that Terry has been running his mouth about me, saying bad things like, oh, he doesn't know how Jessica's going to do this or do that. And I mean, we've worked on that house so much. We did so much work on the house. There was even a point where CPS came in and they told us that we couldn't live there because the house was so bad. And that's not from us. That was from when we moved in. And it's like, why can't you work with me, Terry?
Well, it just seems to me like you could come up with a better plan than to buy a burned out house, which is going to cost you another $100,000 to turn into some habitable presence. This is a lease for a tenancy, is a rental. I made a finding that there's that much due and you have 10 days to pay it. If you're not out within 10 days, which you already are because the house is burned up, he can now proceed. The township has got a judgment against him to clean it up. And so it would seem to me you could find a better place to put your money than into the burned out house on Boone Road. All right, I've signed the order. $6,300 due through the end of June. I'm not sure that figure is accurate, but the figure doesn't matter because it's unlikely that she'll pay it. If there becomes an issue regarding money damages, we'll have a separate hearing and figure out how much is what. But I'm not going to order her to pay rent on a burned out house that she's not living in. Here, I'm simply trying to accomplish a possession judgment so the plaintiff can clean up the property, get in compliance with Park Township or Mendon Township. And
Mendon, I'm sorry.
Okay, and move on. Ms. Burgess, I'm not sure where we've been sending your mail. We've been sending it to that Boone Road address. It says, please
Yeah.
forward. Would you rather have a different address that I send it?
I've been getting my mail good,
All right, we'll use that
except for
address.
the last court date. The last court date, I didn't get any information on it, except for I got it on a Friday and I had court on Monday. And that was
Well,
due to my landlord's lawyer.
all right, well, you're here now and you've heard everything I said. All right. All right, you're free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.